Nearly 12,000 miles in length and encompassing 6,000 individual islands, the British coastline is one of the most varied and magnificent in the world. It has nurtured our ancestors, sustained our industries, and pointed to a world beyond. Nowhere more so than in our next leg, from Liverpool to the borders of Scotland, covering some classic industrial landscapes and playgrounds, and a dangerous world of shifting sands. It's here that the vast expanse of sand comes into its own as that great Victorian invention, the seaside. Demand for holidays amongst the workers of the Industrial Revolution became a turning point in itself. Leisure took over as a dominant industry. Although the mills have closed down, their playgrounds live on. I'm back on the coast road. It's so flat that already I can see Blackpool Tower, and that's more than 12 miles away. These broad beaches seem to go on forever. Miles and miles of harmless fun. And yet appearances here can be very, very deceptive. It looks as if you could walk directly from Southport to Blackpool. But you have to cross the Ribble Estuary, where the tides rush in and out at breakneck speeds. It's deceptively fearsome water, not a place to be messing around in boats unless you know what you're doing. One result of which is a very busy lifeboat station. These guys practice rescues every week. Just one of the 330 lifeboats around our coast, saving an average of 21 people every day. But before you can save a life, you've got to get to the water. With low tide on the Ribble, it can be over a mile away.
Fantastic! Whoa, what power! It takes about 10 minutes for a lifeboat crew to get out to sea. If you suddenly found yourself thrown into the drink, the first thing that happens is that your nervous system goes into total shock.
This might look daft, but what I want to know is what it would be like to be in distress in freezing water for 10 minutes. Drowning's not the only danger. Gulf Stream or not, the seas around Britain are lethally cold.
If I wasn't wearing a wetsuit under these clothes, I'd be suffering the first effects of hypothermia within 2 minutes. And then very quickly after that, the shivering would stop. I'd be on the way to unconsciousness and death. When you're floating so low down in the water, you can't see over the waves. You feel very alone. You mustn't panic. Try and conserve what body heat I've got left, or I can feel it sapping away already.
10 minutes to get a boat to the scene of a disaster may not sound long, but when salt water's shutting off your airway and you're gasping to catch your breath, it's an eternity.
Okay, and again. Well done. Okay, you're okay. Yeah, I'm in. Okay.
At a time like this, you're really relieved to see the Royal National Lifeboat Institution. Unlike other emergency services, they're volunteers, paid for by public donations. That unique relationship with the public began right here on the Ribble Estuary because of one particular event. Nearly 120 years ago, during a terrible storm, a ship called the Mexico was in trouble. It was the RNLI's most tragic night.
It was a German bark, a sailing ship, and she'd left Liverpool heading for South America the week before. It was a pretty nasty night. The tide was ebbing, so it was wind against tide, which kicked up a very nasty sea.
So you've got 12 terrified men out there in the Ribble in a gale.
Yes.
And back here in Lytham Lifeboat House, you've got the lifeboat waiting. How many crew would have been ready to go out that night?
15 altogether. They all lived locally.
So the lifeboat's waiting here in the boathouse, but out there on the Ribble there's a ship sinking. How did the men on that sinking ship get the message back here to land?
Well, the Mexico was out there on the south side of the estuary, and they lit flares so that they could be seen from the shore. Many, many people, 60, 70 people at times, would launch a lifeboat, but if it had a long way to go, horses were used to take it to the water's edge.
What the crew at Lytham didn't know was that 2 other lifeboats had also spotted the Mexico's distress signal. One to the north at St Anne's and one on the other side of the estuary back at Southport. But in 1886, there was no way of managing a coordinated rescue attempt. The seeds of disaster had already been sown. Each lifeboat was on its own, battling a raging gale. Crews were volunteers, fishermen wearing heavy oilskins and crude cork lifebelts. I want to step into the shoes of those lifeboatmen in an identical lifeboat from the 1880s. For good measure, I'm dressed as they were on the night. On the 9th of December 1886, the Lytham boat was racing to cover the 4 miles out to the stricken Mexico. Handling a boat like this is almost a forgotten skill, but to see how fast it can go, we're timing ourselves over a mile. Even in these calm waters, it's not going to be easy.
What sort of speed would they have managed to get the boat moving through the water at?
Probably 2 knots, just over 2 miles an hour.
2 miles an hour is only half walking speed. That's painstakingly slow. 0.9 of a nautical mile on final burst. That's it! Well done! Well done! Well, we've managed to do a measured mile in 11 minutes, which is not bad going for a scratch crew, but the weather's perfect and we have the tide going with us. But you have to think that when those men were rowing out on that black December night, they're in towering waves. It would have been very difficult to keep that lifeboat moving towards Mexico.
The Lytham crew fought for 2 hours to cover just 4 miles, eventually reaching the Mexico and rescuing 12 men. But they had no way of knowing that the other 2 lifeboats were also battling the storm. They would never reach the Mexico. 2 survivors from the Southport boat reported that a wave capsized them, killing 14 of the crew. No one knows exactly what happened to the St Anne's boat, but the next afternoon, bodies of the crew were washed up on the shore. On the night of the 9th of December 1886, this coast killed 27 men, leaving 16 widows and 50 orphans. The worst single disaster in the history of the RNLI.
How did those families get by after they'd all died?
After they'd all died, fortunately, the British public came to their aid and subscribed money. Queen Victoria sent money as well, and over £30,000 was raised.
So the catastrophe became a national cause?
It did, yes. The first Charity Street collections were due to the disaster in the Ribble Estuary.
Those same charitable donations fund the Royal National Lifeboat Institution to this day. It remains one of the best supported charities in Britain, receiving over £90 million a year. We all know it's a price an island has to pay. there'll always be a Blackpool. Still going with the cheeky postcards, the whirl of candy floss and karaoke. Here the treachery of the Ribble Estuary settles into the vast 5-mile swathe of sand, perfect for deck chairs, donkeys, packamacs and ships. Blackpool boomed as a fleeting escape for whole townfuls of workers from the Lancashire mills. People new to the luxury of holidays. Today, it's more likely to be overrun with the lads and ladettes of Scotland. This is the seaside people like to be beside.
I'm very proud of Blackpool. It's my hometown. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I like it here. Sandgrown really just means that you're born and bred in Blackpool, you know, near the sands or on the beach or whatever. I wasn't actually born on the beach, but that's basically what it means. Like the, you know, Cockney's born within the sound of Bow Bells, well, a Sandgrown is born in Blackpool. But I remember coming here as a kid to the tower, and we're coming up here and I was quite frightened. I wanted to hold onto the side. I wasn't keen on the height at all. At this time of year, I got to replace or check some 10,000 lamps on the towers because they get battered over the winter in the winds and everything. And one of the other jobs that I'm doing is actually cleaning the Walk of Faith. There's a glass panel in the floor, and obviously it gets dirty underneath. The thing about it is it's 300 foot up in the air, so it's slightly different than a normal window to clean. Concentrates your mind when you're at 300 feet. You don't get a second chance. If you make a mistake, that's it. If you're scared of heights, you're not going to get used to it. You can either do it or you can't, and if you're not happy with it, then there's no point trying. Coming up to Easter, when everything's getting kicking in and people are starting to come back to the town, there are noisy areas and, you know, places where crowds are a problem, but it's my town, I'm not going anywhere. It's a great place.
But Blackpool's carnival atmosphere comes at a cost. With stag and hen nights turning the town into a binge-drinking capital and one of the highest rates of teenage pregnancy in the UK, the cheeky postcard has caught up with the times. Almost halfway through this leg of our journey. And remember, in the UK, you're never more than 72 miles from the sea.
So as Nicholas said, the next episode heads to Northern Ireland, home to a stunning coastline, including the haunting beauty of a wee place called the Gobbins. It's a coastal walk, long forgotten, hanging just inches above the Irish Sea. That's this Sunday night at 9 here on 2. Coming up next tonight, comedy with Robbie Coltrane.